Jordan's head pounded as if gripped by a searing iron band. "Why did I drink so much yesterday?" he groaned, briefly opening his eyes before squeezing them shut again. The sunlight streaming through the window was unbearable, intensifying the throbbing in his head. He slowly sat up, realizing he had been sleeping fully clothed. His mouth was parched and his throat felt raw. "Lorelei!" he called out, his voice raspy. The apartment remained silent. "Where did you go, restless woman?" he mumbled, making his way to the kitchen, hoping to find relief in the fridge. The kitchen was in disarray. Shriveled slices of ham lay next to crumpled cheese wrappers, and a wilted bunch of greens shared a plate with 3 dried-out pieces of bread. Jordan reached for the fridge, noticing a note with a magnet. "You're a loser. Find yourself another fool. I'm leaving you," the note read. The events of the past few days rushed back to Jordan. That's why he had gotten so drunk. How many days had passed? He checked the clock. Today was Monday. It had all happened on Friday. He whistled softly, wincing as the pain in his head reminded him of his current state. He brewed a strong cup of coffee and found a pill. As he gradually regained his senses, Jordan began to piece together the events of the past few days. He was on the brink of bankruptcy due to an unexpected economic crisis. His investing agency had faced serious difficulties amid financial market instability and a general economic downturn. Declining revenues, mounting debts, and the overall economic downturn had left Jordan unable to meet his financial obligations. In a desperate attempt to stay afloat, he had invested his remaining funds in a friend's new digital financial venture, which promised quick returns. They had meticulously planned everything, but unforeseen changes in legislation had prevented the project from generating income, leaving it frozen indefinitely. Jordan was forced to declare bankruptcy. His wife Lorelei, hearing all this bad news, packed her bags and left, leaving him with a note on the fridge and a heavy hangover. He had always suspected she was only with him for the money, but he had hoped he was wrong. The note had shattered all his hopes. The ringing of his phone jolted him back to reality. "Lorelei?" he answered grudgingly. "Yeah, did you sleep it off?" Lorelei's voice dripped with sarcasm. "Anyway, I filed for divorce. No kids, so it'll be quick. How are we dividing the assets?" "Is that all you care about?" Jordan sneered. "What else should I care about? Your drunk face or your empty wallet?" You... Jordan struggled to find the right word. "Me what? What?" Her voice rose to a hysterical laugh. "You're the loser. You can't do anything. Who needs you, you pathetic man?" She hung up before Jordan exclaimed a cursing. He had to find a way to move forward. He looked around the room. Thank goodness the apartment was in his parents' name, otherwise it would have been sold. The thought flashed through his mind as his gaze fell on a newspaper. Where had that come from? He had no idea. He hadn't held a newspaper in ages, getting all his news online. He pulled the newspaper towards him and began to flip through it. It was some kind of advertising circular, 6 pages of ads. The last page was dedicated to personal ads. With nothing better to do, Jordan started reading the Lonely Heart column. Some of the ads were from nearby villages. He smirked. Who in their right mind would fall for this nonsense? He muttered to himself. An unusual ad caught his eye. Looking for a husband, live in a small village, own house, not Rapunzel, but household and handy, 42 years old. The man chuckled. Funny lady. He set the newspaper aside and stood up, pacing around the apartment as he pondered what he could possibly share with his wife. But there was nothing left to divide. Everything had been auctioned off to pay his creditors, and he was still in debt. A glimmer of hope for a new project had emerged, but it was now buried under the weight of failure. Jordan's mind kept drifting back to the peculiar advertisement he had seen. He picked up the newspaper once more, examining the unusual address listed. He opened his laptop. At least, that hadn't been taken from him. As he typed the address from the ad into the search bar, he mused, "This place is in the middle of nowhere." He scratched the back of his head, and a nervous laugh escaped him. "Oh, to hell with that," he thought, quickly starting to throw the essentials into a sports bag. After a moment's thought, he added his laptop. He retrieved the emergency cash he had set aside for a rainy day. That should be enough for now, he thought. His cards were all blocked anyway. Turning off all the electrical appliances, he left the house. A day later, the bus got him at the right station. The man looked around. "Where are you headed, my friend?" he heard from behind. An old man with a grey beard sat on a cart, harnessed to a dun-coloured horse. He looked at least 200 years older than the old man, and he was shooing away mosquitoes with some kind of broom. "Greetings, father. I need to get to the village," he said, naming it. "I don't see any taxis around here." "Hey, lad, what taxi? There have never been any here. This is the best transport there is." He patted the cart and nodded towards the horse. "That horse looks like it's about to go to another world," Jordan laughed. "This horse, here, will outlive both of us," the old man, offended, declared. "All right, sorry, father," Jordan said, conciliatorily. "So, how do I get to the village?" "Well, get in. I just can't leave you to the wolves, even a joker like you." Jordan shuddered. The old man noticed this and laughed with his toothless mouth. "Don't be afraid. In summer they are well fed. They won't touch you. Come on, jump in. Let's get going. It'll be dark soon, and the journey is not short." Jordan had never ridden in a cart before. He sprawled out on the fragrant hay that lined the bottom of the unfamiliar transport, and, to the clatter of hooves and the creaking of wheels, dozed off. He woke up when the cart gave a good jolt. They had hit a cobblestone. "Sorry about that," the cart driver threw over his shoulder apologetically. "Wow, I fell asleep," Jordan marvelled. "So what? It's the fresh air. It does that to you if you're not used to it." The old man smirked. "And who are you going to see there, boy?" "God knows," Jordan scratched his chin. "I saw an ad in the newspaper and decided to take a look." "Ah, Yara finally came to her senses. Wrote in the paper. Well done." The old man nodded approvingly. "She's been told for a long time to hide her pride. Right, maybe a kind person will turn up. And here you are. By the way, call me Grandpa Randy. What's your name?" At this moment they entered the village. Along the way they didn't encounter a single resident. Jordan asked, "Where is everyone?" "Well, some are at work, some in their gardens, some are having dinner at home." There was only one street in the village. On both sides of it, small houses stood almost right next to each other. Behind the houses, vegetable gardens stretched out, and beyond them, golden and green fields gleamed as far as the eye could see on one side, while a river flowed on the other. Beyond the river, a pine forest began. "It's beautiful here," Jordan whistled. "Indeed it is," agreed the old man. "We're here." The horse seemed to have been waiting for this command and came to an abrupt halt. "She's well trained," Randy remarked, climbing down from the cart. They had stopped in front of a neat little house with white shutters. A weather vane in the shape of a rooster proudly adorned the roof, indicating the wind's direction. "Go on then. If you need anything, I live in the last house. Everyone here knows me." Randy clicked his tongue, and the mare continued on her way. Only then did Jordan fully realise the adventure he had embarked on. "Hello, is anyone home?" he called out, entering the gate. Suddenly, a massive shaggy dog on a chain lunged at him. Jordan barely managed to jump back as the dog's teeth snapped shut just inches from his leg. "Charlie, no!" a clear female voice commanded from an open window. The dog, giving one last warning bark, retreated to its kennel, but kept a watchful eye on Jordan. He cautiously made his way to the porch, opened the door and stepped into the entryway. "Come in, don't be shy," the same voice invited him inside. He entered and was taken aback. While the exterior of the house was typical of a rural village, the interior was strikingly modern and stylish. The loft-style design was beautifully blended with Scandinavian elements. Light-coloured walls and exposed brickwork complemented the wooden ceiling and partial wood panelling. A spacious blue sofa harmonised with the curtains. Open shelving adorned the walls, although they were unusually low. "Not what you expected?" a voice behind him asked. Jordan realised he had been standing in the middle of the room staring in awe, as if he were in a museum. He turned around and was taken aback once more. Before him, in a wheelchair, sat a beautiful woman with an amused expression. His face must have portrayed his surprise, admiration, and pity. "Hello," was all Jordan managed to say. "And hello to you too," the woman replied, also sizing up her guest. "And who might you be?" she asked. "I'm Jordan." "Ah, well, that explains everything," she responded with a hint of humour. "Forgive me. I'm Jordan Clark, a former CEO of investing company, now bankrupt, 45 years old and soon to be divorced. I read your ad," he explained. "And?" The woman looked at him sceptically. "You thought you'd make a lonely lady in the middle of nowhere happy?" "Why would you say that?" Jordan asked, slightly offended. "You placed an ad, I read it, and here I am. That must mean we need each other," he reasoned, setting his bag down on the floor. "You think so?" She thoughtfully looked him over from head to toe. "Well, at least there will be someone to talk to until you decide to run away." "Look, this bickering isn't getting us anywhere," Jordan said, deciding to put an end to the exchange of barbs. "Could I at least wash my hands after the journey? It took me the entire day to get here, you know?" She gestured towards the sink in the kitchen. "Your name is Yara, right?" he asked, drying his hands on a soft towel. She nodded. "It's beautiful here," Jordan remarked, his voice filled with a sense of wonder. "Where?" Yara asked, her eyebrows raised in curiosity. "Everywhere," he clarified, a slight blush colouring his cheeks. "The house, the surrounding nature, it's all breathtaking. The view is like something plucked straight from a fairy tale." "Oh, you should see it in the autumn. It's like a scene from a horror story," Yara joked, a playful smile tugging at her lips. "Just kidding, of course." "Well, at least there's a man around now," she thought to herself, a glimmer of hope sparking within her. "He's not so bad. We'll see how it goes." Skillfully manoeuvring her wheelchair, she quickly set the table. They talked and Jordan shared his story, how he lost his business and how his wife left him soon after. "But I still have my hands and my head," he said, winking at Yara. Yara told him her story. She had been a designer at a large company and was married, and when she had a skiing accident and injured her spine, her husband left her. He didn't want to deal with a disabled wife. She resigned from her job and moved here. Her grandmother used to live in this house. Friends helped her move and adapt the house to her needs. The infrastructure here was lacking, but she didn't need much, as long as she had the internet. She worked remotely as a designer. Old Randy picked up packages for her from the post office, sent by her friends if she needed anything. "And he made me write that silly ad," she finished her story. "Why silly?" Jordan objected. He was definitely drawn to this brave and strong woman. Maybe it was fate. She burst into laughter. "Of course, every man is eager to live with a woman who has a disability." "Actually," Jordan responded, "I spent 5 years with someone who was heartless. It's also a kind of disability. Trust me, that's far worse." So, fate brought together two people who needed each other's support in unexpected ways. They took the time to deeply understand one another and eventually realised their feelings were true. By this time, Jordan and Lorelei had already divorced. Shortly after, Jordan received a call from his friend, who managed their previously stalled startup, delivering some wonderful news. The project had been restarted and was already generating income. This news was perfectly timed, as Jordan had found a specialised clinic for Yara's condition. Soon, the woman successfully underwent surgery. After months of rehabilitation, Yara was able to walk again, though she still needed a cane. Jordan openly expressed his love and proposed to her. She joyfully accepted. The entire village celebrated their wedding. Later, the whole community rejoiced at the birth of their twins. Thank you for listening to the end. If you enjoyed it, please support me with a thumbs up. All the best to you.